So I'm gonna have a hot take on this, and I feel like I can, now that I'm a day into being 40. I'm 4 decades old, so I want to give my hot take on music. Music now sucks. Music now sucks. Is Justin Bieber and Taylor Swift good singers? Sure, they're good singers. Are they making the best music? No, fuck no. Olivia Rodrigo and Sabrina Carpenter, not really. They're good singers. Don't get me wrong. They're nice singers. They're good singers, but they're nothing like compared to the '90s and early 2000s. Billie Eilish, sure, a little bit better in my opinion. Adele, absolutely one of the top tiers of this generation. Lady Gaga, top tier. Beyonce, oh my god, top tier. But also, she came from the '90s. Like, there's a reason why she is the number one right now. But when you take a look at all the ones that are like, going to these concerts, these, music collabs and everything like that, it's like nothing compared to what we grew up in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. I grew up in the realm of like Whitney Houston, Celine Dion, Mariah Carey, and Deborah Cox, and Toni Braxton, TLC. I grew up with all that shit. Like, I'm not saying TLC is like creme de la creme, but her tone and voice was just like amazing. T-Boss is what I'm talking about. But like, so many great singers came out, were pumped out. Christina Aguilera in the late 90s, Beyonce, from like Destiny's Child. There's so many great singers that were pumped out in the 90s going into the 2000s. That was also a time where music could actually be, like power ballads, and that would make it on the radio. And God, the radio! Turning on the fucking car and listening to the song on the radio. I turn on my car and it automatically goes to my phone, which automatically goes to my playlist. And I'm just like, I love that. But also, because I don't want to hear, like the Sabrina Carpenters and shit like that. Like, I really don't. Like, I mean, like, I'm dissing on her because that's one name that I have in my mind. But there's so many other people that are just like her where they just sound like mediocre, I'm surprised that she got a Grammy before Miley Cyrus. And Miley Cyrus was in early 2000s. She was mid 2000s. But, I mean, she still is way better than, fucking Sabrina Carpenter. But I also was thinking about this last night. Back then, you had to be really selective with your music when you bought it. Because music back then was not cheap at all. In the 90s, if you wanted to buy a CD, if it had like 10 songs, you're looking at like $12 to $14 range, which was doable. But that's not how like the main singers like provided their music. They had, like songs that were like 30 seconds long. They had songs that were like remixes. They had all that stuff. So they would pump out music, sometimes 20, 25 songs deep. And those CDs would be like $20 to $25 each. They would be fucking expensive. So you had to be selective. And if you wanted to go a slightly cheaper route, you would go the cassette tape route. But even with the cassette tape, you're looking at, probably $10 to $15 for that cassette tape. And then you have to flip it over when it's done with side A. So you have to go to side B. But also, by the time that it came to like the late 90s, early 2000s, cars weren't making cassette tape players in their cars. They were switching over to CDs. God. Don't even get me started on like how in the early 90s, how I used to wait religiously right next to the, like my boombox with like the record button and with like a blank tape waiting for my favorite song to come on so I can record it. Like those were the days. Those were the days. And like hearing Queen and Rolling Stones and all them, the classic, like 60s, 70s, 80s, and even 90s rock, like, chef's kiss. Like, music now is slop, in my opinion. It is fucking slop. There's only a few songs that I have in my iTunes radio, like, playlist that I actually have that is from this decade. Like, there's only a few. A handful. Like, I don't like music that's coming out now. I mean, and don't even get me started on rap. Don't even get me started on rap. There's some rap that is like, some rap artists that should be platinum, but they're not, because we still have, no offense, like Cardi B. Like, God. I love Cardi B, though. I love Cardi B. But I just threw her name out because that's, one that I can think of. But, like, there's LP. What is, I don't know. There's so many artists. But music now fucking sucks. And I'm listening to Mariah Carey with her Butterfly album and My All and Butterfly, and the riffs that she does, she's like belting, and then she like riffs in with her belting. I mean, like, you don't get that nowadays. You don't get that nowadays, and it fucking sucks, And what also really sucks is that you can't get Glitter, the soundtrack, on iTunes. You have to go into like Spotify or something like that. So you can't get that really awesome song, Lead the Way, where she does that amazing riff. But I'm telling you, like, I am making sure my nephew, which is 4.5 years old, almost 5 in November, I'm making sure that he knows the greats, like Michael Jackson. I want him to know about Queen. I want him to know about, Elton John. I want him to know about Elvis Presley. I want him to know about Martina McBride, Reba McEntire, Trisha, like all of them. Faith Hill. I want him to know about Mariah Carey, Beyonce. I want him to know about Celine Dion, Whitney Houston. Oh my God, Whitney Houston. Anita Hill, Anita Baker, Donnie McKirkland. Don't even get me started on gospel music from the early 2000s and late 90s. Like, Kirk Franklin, God, there's so many great musicians. Brian McKnight, Boyz II Men, New Edition, like Blackstreet, like, and then of course NSYNC and Backstreet Boys, but they would never be that if it wasn't for Boyz II Men and New Edition in them. So, Tevin Campbell, like, God, like my childhood, going into my high school years, was pure bliss when it came to music. I was so... And then you had people like Shaq and like who else tried to make a CD? Shaq, and I think Kobe tried to do one as well, like at least one song or something like that. Like, there's so many different basketball stars that try to become rap stars and singers. Brandy. Oh my God, Brandy. She is the vocal Bible when it comes to like stacking her vocals. Like, oh my God, music back then was so good. My iTunes is literally filled with like I have a huge thing of Beyonce, but I also have a huge thing of like Whitney Houston, huge thing of Celine Dion, and then a huge thing of of Mariah Carey. Like, that's my vocal Bible, my Holy Trinity. Always gonna be my Holy Trinity. And depending on my day and my mood, those three women change spots all the time. But that's the difference between now and then. It's just that now it's like slop. It's like what sounds good on TikTok versus like what is actually a really good song.